This is a game within a game. It's Game-ception. I'm Adam Scott, and this is Cyberdimension Neptunia for Goddesses Online.
Whoa, right on cue. Hey, I'm over here.
Idea Factory and Compile Heart have really been having a go with the Neptunia series. With all of the mainline titles and spin-offs, the series is daunting for newcomers and starting to feel a bit samey to the longtime fans. But Tamsoft has breathed new life with Cyberdimension Neptunia for Goddesses Online. This is the first game in the series to switch to Unreal Engine 4, which paved the way for updated visuals, new maps, and improved gameplay, ditching the turn-based formula. Alright, let's talk about the story. The goddesses of game industry, Neptune, Vert, Blanc, and Noir, have been invited to beta test the hottest new MMORPG called For Goddesses Online. Since the protagonists created avatars, their usual roles have been rearranged somewhat. Neptune is a paladin, Blanc is a priest, Noir is a black knight, and Vert as the enchanter. Everything starts off fairly basic with a good versus evil plot where the team has to find the 4 MacGuffins to defeat the encroaching evil, which seeks to throw the virtual world of Leon Verde into chaos.
Pretty standard, really.
Things soon go off the rails when someone starts tampering with the game from the real world, rendering it nearly unplayable. The script doesn't chart new territory and instead leans heavily into standard tropes, with a pretty generic antagonist. Despite the lack of creativity, you'll be consistently entertained through the fourth wall breaking humor, the digs at those gaming tropes, the character interactions, and boobs. Fans of Neptunia games know how much they like to poke fun at everything with lighthearted candor, and that permeates the entire experience. Just don't expect to break new ground. Not that anyone comes to the series for that. I was pleasantly surprised when I saw the first screenshots for the game. This is the first entry to switch to Unreal Engine 4, and the results really show. It was a much-needed overhaul from what people have come to expect graphically. Every facet of the game has gone through a dramatic transformation from a technical perspective. Dungeons have never looked better, and the character models are equally amazing, blowing the visuals from previous titles out of the water. Just seeing the game in motion, you can tell how significant this is, putting it on equal footing with other games around the similar budget. I experienced no technical issues either. The game ran smoothly almost the entire time. While it won't win any awards, this is clearly the best the series has ever looked up to this point. One aspect that shines brighter than many other entries in the franchise is its fine-tuned story sequences. During dialogue scenes, the transitions where characters slide in and out of the scene look fantastic. It's enjoyable to watch everyone interact as the camera pans and zooms to offer a livelier conversational dynamic. The only knock I have against it is that people no longer animate during the 2D dialogue. Instead, their portraits just move in different directions, so don't expect that familiar breathing effect or moving lips like in the past. Of course, both the Japanese and English voice cast is great, and the art is top-notch. Overall, watching the goofy and cheeky scenes can be just as much fun as playing it. The world takes advantage of the new engine with a dozen or so new dungeons to explore. None of them feel like a copy and paste from previous entries, where the goal was simply to go from point A to B. They're all sprawling environments, and going off the beaten path usually rewards you with new equipment or costumes. To complete their quest, the party will travel through dense woods, ancient ruins, and even a volcano. Now, even with the variety, you'll get really familiar and potentially a little bored with each one, since you'll find yourself running through them over and over to complete quests and advance the story. Outside of the dungeon stages, and far less exploratory, is the town, which serves as your hub. While so much of this game has seen dramatic improvements, this area feels a bit more disappointing. For one thing, you still can't explore the town. It's presented as a static image, populated with these 2D chibi characters to visit like in the other entries. I still would have loved to see them try out a design that's more interesting, allowing you to navigate the town, actually engage with NPCs, or find little nooks and crannies to explore. But maybe I'm just being picky. You can visit stores, take on quests, speak with the locals, upgrade your equipment, and more. Like with many aspects, the shops illustrate how the game was inspired by MMOs, as many of them are run by other users instead of NPCs. There's also a bulletin board, which serves as the gateway for the game's multiplayer mode. Here, you can play with up to 4 other players online. You're limited by your guild rank, so you can't take on quests that are far ahead in the storyline. This can be a decent way to level up characters outside of grinding while obtaining rare materials for crafting. However, there's not a ton of people playing online, so don't expect more than a few parties at any given time, unless you have a group of friends to play with.
I'm so lonely.
Who needs friends anyway? The Neptunia series has always had great humor, and that continues here. While the writing is on the nose, it still is a lot of fun, and I often found myself laughing at the nonsense the characters said or got themselves into. Neptune and Vert in particular gave great performances. Throughout the game, Neptune constantly breaks the fourth wall and pauses the conversations to introduce new characters, which is useful for newcomers or to explain what just happened. Meanwhile, Vert is still desperate for a little sister and has turned most of her attention towards a new NPC, Bouquet, who is left traumatized after their first interaction. Of course, anyone who qualifies as a little sister is fair game, so the other goddesses have to keep a close eye on Vert so she doesn't make a move on their own little sister. The characters are the same as always, like exactly the same. So on the one hand, they have the same funny interactions and silly gags, but on the other hand, there isn't any new depth to these characters. I am by no means asking for a dark and brooding Neptune who has deep and emotional scars or anything like that. Just a bit more development would be nice. That being said, if you appreciate their relatively shallow interactions from prior entries, you'll likely enjoy them here too. As the game progresses, 8 additional characters join the original 4 that you can not only interact with, but also play as. They all have unique personalities, playstyles, and costumes that mix things up a bit. The only gripe with the characters is the constant repeated phrases when they're out in the world. This isn't new for the series, but sheesh, does it start to get old after a while.
Found an item! Found an item! Found an item! Found an item!
The gameplay itself centers around completing quests for advancing the story or improving your guild rank. You take to the fields, which are these large open maps that can be explored at will to solve quests. As the game progresses, these areas get increasingly bigger and more open-ended. It's possible to spend some time doing nothing more than exploring, killing monsters, grinding XP if you want to turn off your brain for a bit. And the actual combat is well put together. At first, it feels like a simple hack and slash, with 3 AI teammates to watch your back. But in little time, it becomes apparent that the other systems are in place for a reason. An ever-increasing repertoire of magic spells and special moves can be assigned to quick-use buttons, allowing for tons of tactical options. Combined with the fluidity of the combat and the bright, colorful visuals, these systems come together to create a deep, yet accessible action RPG that's a lot of fun to play. The only real complaint is that there isn't a sense of weight or impact to the combat. It's like you're slicing through air, even when you see you're damaging your enemies. Being able to change the party and your playable character can really mix things up. With each of the characters taking on unique roles, each one plays different from each other. For example, Neptune is now a paladin with a well-rounded set of moves and a focus on defense, while Blanc is a priest who supports the party with an array of healing spells and buffs from afar. Want to get up close and personal? Use Rom, the samurai. Or want to hang back and cast spells? Nepgear is your girl. It would have been nice to have a quick swap shortcut between party members rather than navigating to the menu, but that's a minor gripe. The character growth dynamic is one of my favorite aspects of Cyberdimension Neptunia. When you amass a wealth of materials and money, you can then trade it in at a handful of shops in the central town. There you can purchase and upgrade weapons and armor, and buy an assortment of accessories, new costumes, and items. Defeating an optional boss, then heading to town to equip the latest gear, enhance it at the blacksmith, and optimize your skills and gems loadout feels rewarding. While it doesn't take as many liberties as I would have liked, Cyberdimension Neptunia has a solid enough foundation for Idea Factory and Compile Heart to springboard off of. The graphical overhaul was a welcome change that really made everything pop. The lighthearted shenanigans of the cast are always enjoyable, even if a bit shallow. And the combat and gameplay loop were a fun diversion. That said, if you don't like the series, Cyberdimension Neptunia 4 Goddesses Online likely won't win you over. But for those who have yet to jump in, and definitely for those longtime fans, this game will offer one of the most unique experiences you've had with the series in years. Alright, well there's Cyberdimension Neptunia 4 Goddesses Online. Have you played it? What'd you think about it? And what are some other game-ception games? These are games within other games. Let's talk about it in the comments down below. Now, if you like cute anime girls and real-time combat, check out my review of Knights of Azure. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.